Good evening, everyone. I work on emotional intelligence, so let me acknowledge that I'm very, very nervous right now. Usually, when I talk about books, the average age of my audience is 11, so I'm not used to such an intellectual crowd, but I hope I am able to engage with you. Um, yeah. So the book I'm going to speak about today is called A Thousand Splendid Suns. It's a very well-known book, noted author Khaled Hosseini. One of my favorite authors when I was a kid, actually. I read this book back in 2011, 2013, when I was in 11th grade. And it was a summer, and it was one of the many books I was just supposed to read as an introvert. Didn't have many friends. One is sitting over here. And so when I was not with her, I was reading, and this was one of those. But this book actually stuck with me because it not only talked to me about the many things in life that I didn't know about, it also made me understand a lot about adversity and how people live in adversity. So the book is basically based on what Khaled Hosseini books are usually based on: war-hit Middle Eastern areas, a relationship between a couple of people, and the in-depth sacrifice that goes into relationships. The book protagonist is Mariam, who is the illegitimate daughter of a very rich man, goes on to discover love, companionship, empathy, and then ends up, of course, in sacrifice. But today I'm not here to talk about Mariam. Today I'm here to talk about Leila. Leila walks into the story in the second half of the book, and Leila is very different from Mariam. She's very well educated. She's looking at a bright future. She basically comes from a family which supports her a lot. And what happens to Leila is she's moving out of Afghanistan because of obvious reasons with her family, and her parents get killed in a bomb blast. And this is when the story turns around for me, because this is when the story discovers what human behavior change happens when we are in an adverse situation or when we experience adversity. So Leila is looking at her future and experience adversity. Scientifically, I'll just throw in a science fact over here. Scientifically, we have tiny strands in our brains called telomeres, and the length of these telomeres determine how long we will live. What's also interesting is if a child experiences any kind of adversity, violence, abuse, or any kind of abuse during their childhood or while growing up, the telomeres in our brains get shortened. Which means that if a child faces adversity when they're growing up, not only are they losing access to the many opportunities that privileged kids have, but also they have less number of chances to in fact tap into their own potentials. And that is so discriminatory if you think about it. So I went on to college and I started exploring the social space. I tried to work with kids because they were kind of my happy place, and as I said, my usual audience is 10 to 11-year-olds. And I sort of tried to work with kids in different kind of demographics. So I worked with kids in government schools, I worked with kids outside of school, I worked with kids in refugee camps, I worked with kids who were Rohingya refugees, which is the world's most persecuted minority in the world. Here in Delhi, in fact, we have around 3 camps. And if you ever get a chance, you should definitely go and meet with those kids. And what I learned was that no matter how many creative interventions we did with those kids, art, theater, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, their internalized version of how they looked at their own potential would never change. They would always think, कि हम तो इतना ही कर पाएंगे. If I'm able to earn 20 rupees a day to come to my house and feed myself, that's my potential. And that is so unfair. When I was 7 years old, I wanted to become an astronaut. These kids didn't even know what an astronaut was. These kids had not even seen themselves in mirrors before this. And so I started exploring on this thing called social emotional learning. It's a very fancy word, but basically what it means is to understand yourself and to understand yourself in the context of other people in order to fathom your own potential. And so that's what I started working on, and I began my own organization with my lovely co-founders. It's called Labhya Foundation. And slowly we started understanding what is the Indian dynamic of social emotional learning. Where does India come in this whole thing, right? And what we discovered was, there were absolutely no interventions around social emotional learning for the kind of demographic of kids that we were looking at, one. And two, there were no ways to actually document what social emotional learning, what its impact was, and what the journey was of a child in the Indian context. So there are many scales. If you Google it, there are many scales on self-esteem and SEL and emotional intelligence in the world. And according to them, all of our kids in the government schools, in the refugee camps of India have no empathy and all have ADHD. Right? That's not true. So which means not only are our kids not able to tap into their own potential, there is no one else, not even an external pen and paper, to tell them that this is your potential. In India, there are 65% children out of the 95% children who go to schools, who go to government schools. So majority of kids in India who are supposed to go to schools are going to government schools, and no government school in India has an opportunity for each child to express themselves and to understand who they truly are. And that's what Labhya Foundation worked on. What we did is, we got a government to buy into our vision. We got them to buy into the fact that social emotional learning is the urgency of the hour, and in especially government schools where children come from varied kind of diversity, from lack of nutrition to abuse to lack of economic availability to caste-based poverty, what will help them overcome any of this? Pen and paper definitely won't. I think we all agree on that, right? And so we created the world's first happiness curriculum. The happiness curriculum is the world's first and largest social emotional learning intervention in the world. What it essentially does is, a 40-minute period every single day in every government school of Delhi is dedicated to a child understanding what their true potential is. And how do we do it? We do it by instilling different skills in the children. For example, decision making, empathy, communication, risk taking, entrepreneurship. Things that I spoke about when I was 20, these kids are getting the opportunity to talk about when they're in nursery to grade 8. And so should I. I should have also got that opportunity, and everyone else should too. And so the idea is that the government is the biggest penetrator in our country, in any country whatsoever. And if we don't get them to understand the urgency of social emotional learning, the idea that India is one of the youngest countries in the world and we need to tap into our children's potential, why are we not doing it? Yet, because now we're here. And today, the happiness curriculum impacts 1.2 million children in all 1,300 government schools of Delhi. We've also trained all 50,000 government school teachers in the government school system currently in Delhi. And what we're trying to do is not only reach out to every child, but also change the dynamics between a teacher and a child in a classroom in those 40 minutes and document how it goes through her math class or her science class or the history class. The idea is not for just those 40 minutes to impact the children. The idea is to see how it flows in the entire day and hence to the communities that the kids go back to. And usually when we come and share about the happiness curriculum and the fact that we want to move to other states as well, people come to us and say, how do I contribute to your cause? They either want to come and volunteer with us in school, which we don't do, or they want to collaborate with us in some way, which is amazing. But to everyone over here who cannot volunteer or collaborate with us, I need you to call at least 3 people on your contact list today. If they're invested in education, if they want to invest in education, Come to us, plan a trip to any government school. You pick the school in Delhi. Come see the work that we're doing and then let's take it forward. And please lend a hand in us extending SEL to every state in India and making sure that every Leila's son or daughter gets equal access no matter which war they come from. Thank you.